In the back of everybody's special operations mind, they're like, all I need is a 249 or a Mark 48. Because if I have a belt fed machine gun, no matter what I face,
Yep.
I'm going to win. Welcome, folks. It's Jake Zweig, United States Navy SEAL, Naval Academy graduate, Michigan MBA, 15-year football coach, mentor to some of the best. Today, we got your boy Nate back from Valhalla VFT.
Yes,
You
sir.
guys know we both dropped the fire. Cats ain't role models, right? Them special operations guys are not role models. So
Yeah.
we had a lot of guys, Nate, coming on saying we were lying.
A lot of people are upset about the video, both videos.
A lot of guys, I appreciate Nate. Let me, I chopped up Nate's video and talked, and reason I did it is because I've been saying the same thing for 10 years. Everybody calls me a liar. That's not true. Special operations, knights in shining armor. I'm like, nah, bruh. If they got armor on, it's really rusty and it's
Well,
dirty.
you've got all those clips from forever ago of telling like leaders like get ready to manage a bunch of serial killers, right? And
Yep.
all I did was walk you through the mind of that. It is what it is. You can get upset about it if you want, but that's what we're here to talk about today is not just that, but we're going to give you some wild examples about exactly what we're talking about.
We're going to give you some receipts, as Jamerson would say. We're going to give you some receipts today. So
That's
go
right.
ahead, Nate. I'm going to let you fire off with the first almost unbelievable.
Each special forces group, right? You got five main ones. And this is just from first special forces group. I could give you guys 10 stories of just the most insane, morally reprehensible shit you've ever seen. But we're going to start out with the tippity top. Let's go with the first group commander. I'm talking about the O6 in charge of all of first group, Colonel Owen Ray. I'm sure a lot of you probably saw this story when it broke because it made national news. And that is the first group commander got pissed drunk, beat the ever living life out of his wife and kids, held his wife and kids at gunpoint. And then when the cops were Tacoma PD, Jake's old alma mater,
Yes, sir. Run fast.
Tacoma
Hey,
PD
run
shows up to
fast, run
his
first.
shows up to his home. He gets in an armed standoff, barricaded shooter with his own family as hostages. That is just one example. When I'm talking about dudes getting a little bit out of control, the things that go on up in our heads anyway justify this. I've been one of the most outspoken dudes about pull this dude's tab in Beret, which hasn't happened yet, which is insane. Another story, but it's just an example of we're talking about an O6 first group commander, and it trickles down with crazy stories from here. But I wanted to
Let,
lead
let,
with that one because that's the tip of the top, man. That's
let,
the one I see of the entire group doing some of the craziest, most morally reprehensible shit you've ever seen.
so, Nate, let me ask you this. Did that dude have a track record? Normally, dudes just don't jump off the fire truck.
Yeah, well,
They're like, you know
that's
what I'm saying?
great point because what everybody said is like the first time you beat the shit out of your wife is not like when you get in an arm standoff with police, right? Like everybody knows
No.
that shit's been going on for a while. But I
Yeah.
will say is he was notoriously hated and went over the top to try to burn and just like fuck dudes up for the smallest little infractions you could possibly imagine. He's kind of that like projecting, right? Like, this dude's a huge piece of shit in his personal life, projecting that out onto others. So yeah, he had a horrible reputation in group, of course, nail in the coffin on that one, obviously.
Karma got him, right? Like guys get in positions of leadership and they continue to climb the ladder. Everybody knows they're dirt bags. Somehow they hit the right wickets and they get into a role and then they just implode.
Yep.
They just implode. So
And that's
I'm
not
gonna
that's not the only one. It's like we're gonna go down the line. I'm gonna give you some other commanders even as we go with stories that's just crazy shit. And it's not. And what me and Jake are trying to tell you, I made that video when I said I'm not rare. This isn't rare. These aren't rare stories. This is stuff I'm sure Jake will tell you. Like every time you hear this, you're just one of these crazy stories. You're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Just another
oh,
one, just another SEAL or Green Beret, like doing some the craziest shit you've ever seen.
loved most about your video, Nate. You were in the psychology of it, right? And
Yeah.
so I try to explain to people, man, you're dealing with type A achieving winners. And a lot of times, like they don't even think about the failure part of it or the what happens if I get caught or it's not going right, right? So I'm gonna tell you, here's one for me. So we were out at Bud's when this went down. Oh no. Let me say this. It happened right before I went to Bud's, but it happened in Virginia Beach. So two guys fresh out of the SEALs, out of Bud's, showed up to the SEAL teams, and they were out drinking. and they met this young lady that was from North Carolina, and they decided that they wanted to take her home and do what they
Yep.
do. And apparently something happened. They got her in the car, and she started saying she just wanted them to take them home, and they basically were like, no, we're going to give you the business. Okay. So, the one dude was in the back seat. He put her in a chokehold, choked her out. She pissed all over the car.
Oh my God.
They don't even I don't even know if they ended up actually raping her, but they ended up killing her. Okay. So she died in her own vehicle. All right. And this is where your video comes into play, because we know that stuff happens in life. But what happens next is where I say this is where the shit gets crazy. All right. So they drove down to the Great Dismal Swamp, which is south of Norfolk, and swam her out almost a half mile into the middle of the swamp, and then dove down underwater and buried her under an embankment. Obviously, they had video of her leaving with them in her car, being in the passenger seat because she peed all over the seat. So the detectives pretty much knew what they had, right?
Right.
And they put two and two together and said, hey, she got choked out. Like, that's why she peed on herself, whatever. So they brought him into questioning. They were like 18 hours into questioning, and they did what, cops are good. They're good at their job. Ran in the room and was like, Joe, stop questioning him. Old boy cracked. We got him.
Yeah.
We know.
Prisoner's dilemma.
We know exactly what happened. Let's go. And the dude's like, what? They were like, yeah, don't worry about it. You're going to get sentenced to death, brother. We know you choked her out, killed her.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't do it. He did it.
Yeah. Prisoner's dilemma.
Boom. Yep. Got him.
That's crazy.
Then, they got hammered, obviously. And, but like I say, we're going to go back and forth on a couple stories.
Well,
that was
and
one.
Just caveat that I don't want to get too deep into this story because it's so famous, but Logan Melguard, fucking Navy SEALs that choked out and killed a fucking Green Beret to stop some information from coming out.
Suspected of strangling Staff Sergeant Logan Melguard to death, according to a preliminary Army investigative report. The two Navy SEALs, 38-year-old Tony DeDolph and 31-year-old Adam Cranston Matthews. An explosive report from the Daily Beast claims that Melgar had discovered that the SEALs were pocketing from a slush fund used to pay locals.
Right?
Wait, no, go into it. No, go into it. Because we know what happened. They were stealing money. Okay.
Yep.
And Logan was like, this ain't right. And they were like, hey, go to sleep.
Yeah. And they killed him for it. Right. So these stories aren't what I don't want people to think is like every SEAL in Green Beret is some psychopath that's a murderer that's going to kill people. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is these are some of the type of people that are within these organizations, and you should not be shocked when you find out that this type of stuff is going on. Adultery, domestic violence, murder, fraud, embezzlement. I mean, we're going to get into some embezzlement stories here and like stealing money from the fucking government. Okay. That's even more. So that's my point here. Like, there's some of the most amazing men and like good human beings you will actually ever meet in the regiment.
As long as they're on your side, Nate.
Yeah, that's right. As long as they're on your side. But my point was that just assuming because I'm a Green Beret or Jake's a Navy SEAL, that puts us on some moral pedestal that like puts us above the rest of society. That is not the case. That was my main point with that video.
One story I want to talk about, because it's not just limited to special operations. No. I think it's something about the kids that go into the military. I don't know, it's probably a whole bigger discussion, but like I was a brand new ensign on my ship. I've been on my ship 4 months, going on deployment. And we get underway from deployment. We hit a hurricane, ripped off the sea whiz out the front of the ship. I'm standing under instruction in Command and Control Information Center, and an AMCROS message came in. And I read the AMCROS message, and I was like, oh my God. And the AMCROS message read, and I'm just going to say HMC, so the hospital corpsman's chief, right? HMC needs to be flown home immediately. His wife has been murdered. His oldest kid has been murdered.
Oh my God.
And then it went into the details. Another chief was in a sexual relations. They were in this love triangle or square. Okay. And
we could get, how common that is in soft teams.
The other chief murdered his wife, murdered Chief's wife, murdered one of Chief's kids, and killed all three of his own kids. And I've been in the Navy. At this point, I've been in the Navy for like 6 months after the Naval Academy. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I remember I was under instruction. I showed it to the watch officer. What do I do? And he's like, what do you think you should do? I need to go see the captain. He was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So I called the captain. Hey, captain, can I bring this Amcross over to you right now? It's an emergency. She said, no problem. I walked in and I was petrified that they were going to be like, hey, you need to go down and talk to Chief about it. Right. Oh. And I handed it to her and she read it and she was like this.
Yeah.
And then she looked up at me and I was like, what do I do? She's like, don't worry about it. We'll handle this. And I turned, like maybe the most relief I had in the Navy. I turned and walked out of there. It was just like, oh my God. And like that was the worst thing that I saw in the regular Navy. Like that was the worst thing. But it was like this dude put his whole family in this situation. But think about that. That dude's going home to 2 kids. He had a wife and another kid. I was just like, holy, like that's when you start realizing like, man, there's some stuff happening in the military. And I understand now, like when you go to the civilian world, why it's so easy to lead out here. Because you're not having situations like that really go down every now and then, but nothing like that.
Yeah, and I mean, the amount of stories, team dudes that one are cheating on other, or like wives that are cheating on their husbands with team dudes and like getting knocked up by other teammates. I know multiple stories of this, of like team dudes' wives who are getting pregnant by other team dudes. Like it's not rare. Like and this is just like first group. I'm sure if you got all the groups together, there would be dozens and dozens of these types of stories. I know you had mentioned some crazy story about like raising like a Viking style groups of children. Like,
man, I
don't know if we want to get into that one, but like
I'll challenge all of you. We're not going to talk about it, but I want you to go read up on Blue Squadron's behaviors with wives. That's all I'm going to say. Yep. Go read up on it. I'm not going to talk about it. I wasn't there. I know what happened. Okay, I had some guys around. I know what happened, but go read up on that one. But I'm gonna throw another one on the fire, another log on the fire. So I was at SEAL Team 8, and the commanding officer of SEAL Team 4 is a complete animal, former Division I wrestler, and I needed a mentor. And I wanted to go over and ask him to be my mentor, and I didn't really know how to do it. So I asked somebody about it, and this is what they told me. They said, man, you got to be careful around him. I'm like, why? And they're like, he's always mad. And I said, well, why is he always mad? So they were like, look, when he was a ensign, he went on deployment. He had 2 kids already, Ensign JG, and he came back, and the CO, commanding officer of SEAL Team 2, was in his house raising his kids, and his wife had filed for divorce, and now his wife, or the CO of SEAL Team 2, is raising his kids. I was like, what? And they were like,
that's so crazy.
And then they caveated it. We expect to see him dead at some point in his life. But he was a banger. He ended up with a lot of hardware on his shoulders.
Right.
And, that's just how it is, and I know we could talk about this specifically for probably 3 hours because there's 2 or 3 women at every SEAL team that have been married to 2 or 3 SEALs at the same SEAL team.
I could probably think 3 or 4 examples of this exact thing very close to me. So it's like, dude, it's so common.
It happens in the NFL a lot too. Okay. And so I don't know if it's high achieving people. I don't know if it's the psychotic, like guns, and you don't know if you're going to be alive tomorrow. But like, I mean,
it's like Larsa Pippen, right? Like Larsa Pippen is now what, like married or dating Michael Jordan's son. Like this, this is the exact type of thing that you're talking about. So this isn't like specific to SOF, but it's a demonstration of like, this is the type of shit going on.
Or your boy Russell Wilson, right? Golden Tate and a couple wide receivers running a train on his wife. Same example. So high performing individuals in environments around incredibly fit alpha males. Like I said before, if someone has the formula to crack the nut. Someone has it. 4 techs at Dam Neck, okay, at SEAL Team 6, the techs decided to rob a bank in Virginia Beach. Okay? Now, this is where it gets good. They robbed a bank with MP5 SDs. Okay? So MP5 SD is a little short MP5 9mm gun with a built-in suppressor. It is on the AFL, whatever that list is. You can't just buy the gun, okay? They thought it'd be wise to rob a bank with 4 of those. So I was
wonder where they got those, right?
So the phone call went out. Hey, who's missing 4 MP5s?
100%.
They called all of the SEAL teams, and they got to Dam Neck, and they're like, oh, these 4 techs checked out MP5s. Oh, they had them in like 4 hours. Another example, right? Some guys that were in the community, not necessarily SEALs, but morally, let's go rob a bank, okay?
So I want to get into 2 stories, okay? One of them is going to be very well known. Let me start with a little bit less known one first, okay? So when you, and every Green Beret I'm sure knows this, when you are going through the Special Forces qualification course, you get sat down for like a morality brief, right? And SF Command made this big like Hollywood movie, right? That's for the students that depicts all of these SF dudes basically embezzling and laundering money back from Afghanistan and Iraq, right? So for those of you who don't know, we get like, I mean, I was the pay agent for my ODA on my last trip, and like I had like $90,000 in a fucking safe that I just had control of to go buy shit whenever I needed to, right? So the proper thing is like you use it what you're supposed to fucking use it for, but is there room for fucking theft and embezzlement in that situation? Yes. All right. So you watch this video and it's this big like Hollywood thing that shows exactly that. All these guys getting caught for like stealing money, embezzling it, bring it back. First group, I think we had multiple times in the last 10 years where guys had cut the bottoms out of ISUs, were stuffing tens of thousands of dollars in magazines, different things, resealing ISUs, getting caught. Okay. I'm sure you could probably find those. But I want to jump into the 7th group story. That's one of my most favorite stories. And that was the 7th group major, who I believe was coming back from Colombia. I'm pretty sure it was Colombia.
Yep, Colombia.
And he gets on an Air Force AC-130, okay, palletizing all their equipment, bringing it back. You know how that is. You deploy, you palletize, you put it on the AC-130 jets, you bring it off. For whatever reason, he's got this punching bag that he does not want to have on the pallet with all the gear. He wants to have that punching bag with him. And the Air Force crew chief is like, why is this guy so fucking attached to this punching bag? Like super weird, right? And like he won't let it out of his sight. And eventually the crew chief is like, this is too weird. Like, we're going to go ahead and check out what the fuck this punching bag is. Obviously, pull him aside. They pull the punching bag out. They fucking cut it open. There's, and I don't know the exact number, but I believe it was something like 60 or 70 kilos of cocaine that he was drug running on an Air Force AC-130 from a JSET into the fucking country to sell to the cartel. So
and this is a prime example, Nate. Criminal-minded people working for the government that don't have a criminal fucking mind, right?
Yes.
Like if he had just put it on a pallet.
We do that all the time. We would bring our gym, like our ODA gym and our squat racks and everything, always on the pallets. Just throw it on the fucking pallet. Nobody's going to check it because you're an ODA, right? They're like good to go. But him being like so weird about this fucking punching bag that he had to have as his personal belonging.
I'm guilty, Nate. I just realized I'm guilty. Okay. You were telling the story. I'm guilty. I'm going to come clean. 1999, we were doing flyaways down to Rosie Roads. Okay. I was in the PX, a bottle of Jamerson's rum with the pirate on it. Captain Morgan's rum. Captain Morgan's was $2 a bottle. Okay.
Oh, what? You are
$2 for $7.50. $7.50, 2 bottles. Okay.
Okay.
It was on sale or something. I said, man, you know what? I'm going to buy 100 of these bottles. They were like, you can't take them back to the States. I'm like, no problem. I'll drink them all while I'm here. Yeah. I filled up. We have cruise boxes, like a metal cruise box. I had 2 of them. I dumped all the shit out, filled up 2 fucking cruise boxes with 100 bottles, kind of packed them in there, put them on the pallet. And I remember I was a little worried about it. And then I got back to Norfolk. In typical fashion, we landed at like fucking 3 a.m. There were no customs. Our trucks pulled up. We loaded our shit on there. I fucking put it on my truck and I went home. And then the joke was from all my boys, anytime a party happened, I brought a bottle of Cap Morgan's, right?
Hell yeah.
So we've all done it, but I wasn't trying to do it to sell it, right? Like I wasn't trying to make money on it. I didn't have to worry about guys in my platoon turning me in because they knew I was selling shit, right? I just put it on a pallet. Now, the other good one was like everybody bringing back AK-47s. So
I was just going to get into, I got a story with my ODA I can get into.
Oh, ODA.
It's not a bad one, but it's just an example of like how much shit we tried to bring back. We got stopped, but it might be a good story.
So there's a Navy SEAL got arrested for 87 AK-47s. All right. And in the SEAL teams, I say this, it's a 5-year occurrence. Someone will do something. There was a SEAL that had sold 2 semi-truckloads to a white supremacist group down in Georgia. 2. Okay.
Yeah.
He was trying to sell his 3rd semi-truckload of shit, but he got caught because he decided to go with a different group, and it turned out to be the FBI. Okay. Because the FBI was trying to figure out where the fuck all this military grade shit was coming from. And they just figured, let's go. Because, they can track all that stuff. All the serial numbers they can track. And so, I like that one. And then when I was in the SEAL teams, there was a Master Chief on the West Coast who was retiring. He had left a tarp-covered pile of stuff in a guy's garage, one of his teammates' garages. The wife got pissed off.
Oh, dude, I just have another awesome story. It's crazy as we get through this. These stories that are just popping up.
The wife got pissed off.
And this is where that story's going to.
And pulled the tarp off and was like, holy shit. My man had Laws rockets, over like 500 pounds of C4, det cord caps, 100 grenades, like 50, 60,000 rounds of ammunition. Okay. And I'm going to go, like, just so you guys know, I'm going to put all these links in the description. We're going to description this shit up. For 70% of these things we're telling you, I'm going to go get the links. It'll be in the description. Okay. Yeah. But it was like, dude, you're a Master Chief, bro. Like, have we all, like, so we have Amnesty Box. If I see something good in the Amnesty Box, I'm taking it the fuck home. Like, I got 500 rounds of Hydra Shock one time out the Amnesty Box. I'm like, what the fuck you throwing away this good ammunition for, right? But I also looked in the Amnesty Box. There was a captain block of C4, and Master Chief called a safety stand down for the whole command and screamed at us in formation, dude, we gotta call EOD. Just pull the cap out. Like, I was like, good God, man. Just stuff, So what do you got on guys and guns, Nate?
So yeah, we got a few of them. So my ODA, and this isn't a bad story, but it's just an example of like, and this was in 2018. We had, by the end of that trip, a fucking warehouse full of AK-47s, PKMs. We had a couple Dishkas that we pulled off of objectives because we killed, I think, 587 insurgents on that trip, confirmed. And BDAs, hey, brother, like, we find 20 fucking AKs, they're coming back. Most of the time, we'd give most of them to the Afghan counterparts because, they're into that shit. But we had this huge stockpile. I had this 1943 Russian-made World War II Makarov, that like pistol that was just badass, that I pulled off of a dude that I was going to bring home. And there's an official process for this, right? You do the paperwork. You got to weld them shut so that they're not usable. The problem was that the military changed it in the back half of the war, that you had to be able to find, it had to be worth less than $350, and you had to be able to find it online to prove it. Well, dude, none of these guns, like, you can't find a fucking PKM on Google, right?
And you definitely ain't finding nothing from 1941 that's still $300.
Right. So we ended up not being able to bring back the majority of it because of the new regulations. But before that, dudes could just fucking bring back, like you said, just fucking truckloads, put them on the pallet and just bring them back. So that's my point, is like, there was a significant period of time where like these types of things could definitely happen.
And so I tell everybody, like I can bring any gun back from anywhere in the world I want to. Because if you go look in our armory, high box, whatever that thing is, that's like a Connex box, it's little. There's already AK-47s in there, RPG launchers, like everything in the world is fucking in there, right? Like MP5 SDs, MP5 normals, like SR-25s, like all that stuff is already in there. So if I have 4 more in there,
Right.
they ain't like they open this is the gun, this armors thing, right?
Yeah.
You look on the list, it's on the list, you're good.
Next one, we had a dude, and this gets into a pissed off wife story, which you got to be careful with your pissed off wife, right?
Them wives will get you.
So he pisses his wife off. He's going through divorce. His wife, like, I think he was cheating. I don't remember the exact story, right? I think he's cheating on her. She finds out. She fucking calls his command. Not his command. She calls the MPs because his command probably would have made sure that like this disappeared. She calls the MPs and says, "Hey, my husband has 2 M240 fucking Bravos in the garage with thousands of rounds of 240 link." And so the MPs show up, and he's living in on base housing. They show up, and he's got like, they rip open his closet, and he's got 2 M240 Bravos. He's got like a couple RPGs. He's got a garage full of fucking all U.S. government, right?
Hey, get ready, Nate. He getting ready.
Not like he got this shit off like the black market. No, I don't know how he procured them, but like he procured some no shit fucking like big boy machine guns, and yeah, dude, he's in Leavenworth, homie. Like
he's in Leavenworth. He breaking rocks right now. So we didn't go into the consequences. We need to talk about the consequences. 2 Navy SEALs that murked the Green Beret, they in prison, right? Yep. Master Chief got 15 years for all the demo. Dude that was selling the trailer trucks got like 25 years. Okay, so let's be clear. We don't want to like glorify this shit at all. We simply giving you some stories to go with what me and Nate were talking about.
Let me talk about punishments, right? Because I want to be clear, like the SOF regiment still is very big on integrity and morality and values and upholding those things, all right? So I don't want you guys to think that this is some mafia organization. You get caught with this shit, they will burn you to the ground. I'll give you an example. We had a dude, and when I was out in Okie, I'm one of the dudes on the teams that he somehow, I don't know how he met this chick in the Philippines. Very common, right? Dudes leaving their wives for Thai and Filipino women. It's very common. Yeah. But anyway, he meets her in the Philippines. He starts dating this girl. He's got a wife and kids. He comes back. He goes on leave. He tells our command that he's going to America to visit his wife, I believe. And he tells his wife that he's going on deployment. What he really does is he flies to the Philippines on the U.S. government's dime to see his fucking girlfriend. And so when his wife starts asking the teammates' wives, like, "Oh, how's the deployment going?" And they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? The dudes aren't on deployment." And then the dudes are like, "Wait, what? I thought he was with his wife." And it's like, so he's missing from both sides. And then command fucking finds out that this dude basically is off visiting his fucking mistress in the Philippines. He gets back. They fucking Article 15 him and fucking Lhasa rank him, UCMJ him, and that's for adultery. Right? So like the punishments are fucking there, guys. Like, don't get me wrong. The SOF regiment is not just like, "Oh, whatever, do what you want to do."
Oh no, you're getting kicked out. You're getting
fucking destroyed if you get caught.
And as soon as the feds get involved, which most of the time they are, because it's I know a young man that built an M60. Okay, he was an armorer.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. You got a lot of extra parts. And he was always bitching because the barrel was the problem. Right. But then the barrel didn't become a problem. And so now, my man got a M60 somewhere hidden in the dirt somewhere, but I mean, shit, let's be honest, Nate, we all know in the back of everybody's special operations mind, they're like, all I need is a 249 or a Mark 48, because if I have a belt fed machine gun, no matter what I face, I'm going to win.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. And it's crazy. I just watched, I'm sure you've seen it. Me and my wife watched it maybe last night. I think it was the Den of Thieves movie, the Marsoc dudes. I really like that movie, but it's like, I love that movie because what it is like, you immediately really like the Marsoc dudes, right? You're like, these dudes are fucking awesome. They make Russell Crowe, the FBI agent, this fucking scumbag who's cheating on his wife with and these are the fucking good guys, even though they're like robbing banks and they don't hurt the hostages. And I'm like, dude, that's such a great movie representation of soft dudes, where you're like, they're just doing this like morally reprehensible shit, but like they're doing it in like a really like good moral way at the same time. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, whoever had the oversight of that movie, like nailed the psychology of like a group of soft dudes. You know what I mean?